The Love Life and Lose Weight podcast will teach you the art and science of changing your habits around food. I'm your host, advanced certified weight and life coach, Heather Beardsley. I've helped hundreds of women just like you figure out how to stop dieting, lose weight, and love life on the journey to goal weight and beyond. Hi, welcome to episode 28. How to quantum leap your results. Sounds amazing, right? I'm going to teach you the secret. All right. Quantum leaping results. I'm going to give it to you right up front. Don't have to sit through 30 minutes to learn one of the secrets to the universe. It means what got us here is not going to get us there. And if you think about that in terms of weight loss, what got us here is thinking in a linear way that what you do and who you are is a product of the past. This happened and then this happened because that happened before. And so therefore I do this and this is who I am and this is what I have to overcome and this is what I have to fight against and this is my struggle. You see, the whole story of you and your weight is an attachment to believing you have limitations because of what's happened and therefore who you are. And what I'm saying is to quantum leap your results with weight loss, you have to detach yourself from thinking that who you are is a product of the past and what's happened before. And therefore, you're dragging this schema, this idea of like you right now is a product of your past. And it's just a story. What got us here is not going to get us there. So if you want to quantum leap your results, you have to detach yourself from this style of thinking. And if you are ever on a call in the membership and you've heard one of the coaches or Corinne coach, usually what happens is the member gets on and they say, okay, they might start with like when they joined the membership. This is when I joined. This is how it was easy. Then these things happened, which means I have a problem. And now I'm stuck. You see how it's linear, meaning one thing followed the next, followed the next. And each thing that happened impacted how they saw themselves, how they saw their abilities, whether it was a success or a failure, that each thing sort of makes a soup. We're like making soup where all of the components are in there. And the truth is, just because we can recall memories about what happened to us or things that happened or our results or lack of, doesn't mean that that's filtering or governing, limiting what we're capable of now. And a good way to think about this is to consider somebody who has amnesia as our window into this possibility for you. So I'm not really sure about the brain mechanism itself that is responsible for amnesia, but it seems to me that something detaches from this ability to kind of recall in the past, to tell the story of past experience, to explain who you are and what you're capable of. And so the person with amnesia sort of gains consciousness without this attachment to the past story of who we are and what our limitations are and what our successes are and what our failures are. And it's like a blank slate. The Latin term is tabula rasa. It's a blank slate that the person then gets to like choose because they're not limited by these stories or these memories. The brain is a prediction machine. This is why we do this. The brain is a machine that takes memories and input from our senses and makes a model of prediction to tell a story about what's happening. It wants to give us certainty so that we're not crippled by anxiety, so that we can take action in a world that's full of uncertainty and danger, so that we can function, right? But it's an imperfect machine, right? It does a wonderful job considering like it's responsible for the locomotion and the action taking of um us in these like meat suits. It's kind of amazing. And so it makes sense that we think in a attachment to our past to tell a linear story about who we are. Okay. So it's just normal. Like these members who get on the calls, like even when I start with a client, I have to have this conversation with them. Otherwise, they won't be able to relate to me in the beginning. Right. I say, tell me your story. Like, tell me when weight started to be an issue for you and what were your experiences with different restrictive diets. And I ask them this because not because I think it matters or because I think that they're limited because of these stories of their past, but because I want to know an idea of these limiting stories that they probably have in their head. And then I'm going to try to find a window of opportunity to disrupt that linear thinking so that they can get those results. So, this perspective of time, we don't have to use it in a way that is a limiting factor. And this is the thing that really will help you so much, even if this is the only thing you ever do with this concept of quantum leaping your results, is that the story of the past does not have to filter what's possible for you. And that unhooking yourself from that explanation is probably the best way that you can quantum leap your results, whether it's weight loss or anything else. So let's start from there, though. The person who I was for many years, I always felt bigger than my friends. I always had a harder time losing weight. These are not facts. This is just the story that my brain told me, which then made weight loss an issue. It came front and center because I had a lot of negative feelings about it and big desire to change that. But when I changed my results in a way that worked and gave me great success was when I stopped buying into my stories of limitation. Okay. So here's what I want you to consider. Someone who is attached to the past needs a harsh critic, right? They need that directive voice. They need a lot of diet mentality. They need a lot of rules. They need a lot of focus on what not to do in order to try to like grasp on what we can do, because we have to overcome this version of ourselves that's a problem, right, with weight loss. This is why sabotage comes up, because you can start to get good results. But hear me when I say this. If you are still buying into this idea that you only are a product of your past, and the person who has a weight problem and the person who overeats and the person who's addicted to sugar, the person who binges, the person who, has bad genes, the person who struggles, the person who everything is harder for, the person who tries really hard and never gets results, the person who's overlooked. These are all limiting stories that are tethering you to a story of your past that is preventing you from getting the results that you want. This is why we sabotage. So if you sabotage, that is actually a cue. It's a clue. It's a waving flag for you to understand that how you're thinking is attached to the past. And that's a crack. That's a door. That's an escape hatch right then and there. Just to remember that you could be somebody who has amnesia about your past. You could be right in this moment, clean slate, somebody who can just no longer believe that the past controls you. And if you just consider that, if you just milk that, if you just try to get some momentum with that, like, how can I show up new? How can I throw off these ideas of how I've always been and what I struggle with? How can I unhook myself from the past? We want you to just opt out. You can never change things by resisting the now. That's what self-sabotage is. It's resisting the now. It's resisting, I'm getting some results, but that's not who I see myself as. This feels uncomfortable because I've been so attached to my past that I don't see myself as somebody who gets results. And this is the heartbreaking thing. This is why I'm so passionate about being a coach, because all my clients, all the members haven't practiced enough. If you're having trouble losing weight, they haven't practiced enough a compelling vision of what's possible. They're still in the past, attached to this past version of somebody who needs to lose weight. So, to change something, you must make the current way of operating obsolete. You have to completely not just shake up the snow globe, you need to break it. There's some good examples of like other areas, like other stories we know of that kind of give us evidence that this is possible. You're like, Heather, how can I break my snow globe of how I relate to food and my habits around food? I mean, I'm just me. How do I not be me? Well, consider the person who has a really big health scare. A lot of times, people who have a near death experience, a heart attack, even cancer, when they survive, it's like that chain to the past, like just for a lot of people, it just snaps. They just stop believing it. They're like, fuck that. Life is too short. I know that my attachment to all this shit isn't bringing me the life I want. And they just literally leave it there. They drop it like heavy luggage, holding them down. That's why sometimes people with a loss, like they lose people in their family, or something really shakes up their life and sometimes really devastating ways. And they just like sell everything, or they move to another state, they move to another country, they reinvent themselves because the pain of attachment to that loss or to that old life, or even the pain of a predictable future because of how you're attached to your past, is so like distasteful that they get the energy to just shake off the chains of attachment to the past and how they see themselves as. And they just literally give themselves permission to become somebody new. They make the past obsolete, the past operating system obsolete. And we don't have to go through anything, as dramatic and intense and sometimes devastating as any of those things. But it's a template. It's a template for you to really think about, how are you participating in the struggle of this because of your assumed beliefs about what's possible for you. Each moment is ours. That is gifted to us. It's a gift. That's why they call it the present moment. This present moment for us is up to us. It is our responsibility and it's our honor to be able to have this and just choose the choices that bring us to what we want in life. So I was first sort of introduced to this quantum result in business, believe it or not. Business, making money, making profit. it's not emotional, it's mostly math. And when you think about things in terms of math, it becomes really clear, right? So I had oftentimes been like, okay, how can I get clients? When I was coaching on my own one-on-one, I was like just trying to hustle clients and thinking that like, well, how much could I make? Like that was dependent on how many clients I could get to sign. And that is just again an example of somebody who is thinking about what's possible based on what I've been able to do. And I had said, well, I'm a new coach. Like I've never done this before. I never signed a client. I don't know what to charge. That's the ass backward way of doing it. That's the way so often we do weight loss. Well, I can only lose maybe, less than half a pound a week, if I try really hard. But as soon as, life happens, like I tend not to lose weight. That's such a story of past performance to tell us what's possible for us. So, in the business example, when I started to do it from unhooking from a predictive mindset based on what I was able to achieve in the past, when I turned to just a simple question, which is, how much money do I want to make? And you just start there. That is a compelling vision and creation in the future that's unlimited by the past. And that's what I did. I wrote a number down. I did this like on a whiteboard and I laid out my year in quarters. And I started with a number that felt like compelling that I would love to make. And then I was like, okay, well, I can coach one-on-one and I can do a group coaching program. And then I kind of like looked at the hours that I could coach and what I could charge for each. And I just played with the numbers until I got a revenue of the income that I had put the number down as. It was just math. And then all I had to do was just believe, choose to take actions. Actually, I didn't believe. Lying. I didn't believe. I just was like, all right, well, I have to sell this many one-on-one slots and this many group coaching programs. Okay. That would mean that I would do it like 4 times a year for my 12-week program. And like, I got to get this many clients to make that happen. That was not that was not rooted in my past. I'd never done any of that before. And if I had tried to figure out how much I could make based on being a brand new coach, I would have done it with like a lot of uncertainty and a lot of just reactive selling my coaching and trying and over efforting with a lot of resistance in the way because it was based on what I thought I could do, which was I didn't have any evidence. It was a past-based story. As soon as I started creating the income stream I wanted from a compelling vision of the future, a coach who makes, $100,000, then I started selling my coaching. And not only that, but I figured out ways from that model how I could make a lot more money too. And then, I got this wonderful opportunity to go and work for No BS, which I thought was even better than trying to reach my income goals on my own because I knew I would learn so much more. So I tell you this example as a way for you to kind of unhook from the past. And instead of thinking like, I have all these limitations and all these struggles around weight loss, and therefore this is how I struggle from week to week to eke out weight loss. Instead, I want you to think like me at goal weight. What kind of life do I have where I don't use overeating as a strategy to cope with my life? So when I do need to cope, what kinds of things do I do? And then when I don't need to cope, what kind of life supports me so that I don't need to cope very much, so that I love my life? What does that look like? I'll just give you an example for myself right now. Like, this is a constantly evolving process for me. Um, I'm going to be 53 in July, and I've got about 10 years left of working years. And I'm starting to think about like retirement. And I followed this, I forgot the name, but it's this account on Instagram. I think they live in Oklahoma, but they have this like, it's kind of like a farmstead type of home. There's a lot of fences around. They have chickens, like they're retired. They bake bread every day. She does art. They make a lot of food. They're kind of foodies. And she has a garden, like a beautiful garden. And I'm just mesmerized by this account. Like, it just calls to me. And I keep like going to Google and like I keep Googling like farm homesteads for sale in Florida. And of course, there's very few because I live in a metropolis area. But you see, my brain is just like chewing on this idea, this like, it's kind of calling me into the future, this idea of this life that feels really interesting to me, really full and really like sensual, and that it's like visually appealing and it's tactile and it's got animals in it and it's got a lot of more nature than what I'm in right now. And I don't know if anything's going to happen with this, but I'm going to milk it. I'm going to use momentum with it. I'm going to follow more accounts. I'm going to get more house plants. Like maybe right now that just means, building grow boxes. Actually, I have the guy coming at the end of the month. Like, he's going to build me some raised beds in my backyard. So right now, that vision of the life that I envision is just, it's manifesting in these small little ways right now. And maybe it becomes something like this couple on Instagram who are retired in 10 years. I don't really know, but I just know that all of this is based on a life that feels like it wants me to step into it. And I know when I have a life like that my eating is going to support my ideal weight. And that just feels so rich and full and wonderful. So, this is what I want for you. And this requires um, unhooking from the past. Stop looking at your life in a linear way. Stop dragging your past self and your perceived limitations into the now moment. You unhook yourself and you start thinking creatively about what you want. And yes, your goal weight is in it, but it's not just a goal weight, it's a goal life. It's a whole life, financial, social, employment, professional, family. All of these components have to be filled in completely. And the way that my clients usually experience the first glimmers of this when they start to get a little bit of momentum with weight loss is that there's a void, there's a white space that starts to come in when we stop, using food to like emotionally regulate our life. Like, the food has been there to help you get your attention about the parts of your life that need unhooking from. It's trying to get your attention that something more is calling you forward, but you have to participate in it. It's like the past and the future are points of focus that are our responsibility. The way that you direct your focus is like a magnetic force, and it brings your results in either of those directions. So I really want you to understand that to get quantum results, you're going to have to focus on a compelling future, one that's calling you, one that is made up of little hits of intuition about what you're interested in, what turns you on, what lights you up, what makes you happy. These little hits are all happening all day, every day. The question is, are you so forward facing that you cannot even see them? And if that's the case, then you're not going to get quantum results. You're going to sort of insert a lot of resistance into this weight loss goal. Can you get there? Yeah, you can. But quantum results means taking out all the resistance because you're not limited. You're truly stepping into the powerful now. And you're willing to start taking some actions, whether you believe or not, just because you know you are somebody who is untethered. You are untethered to the past. Each moment is a free will moment for you. You don't have to keep being who you've been unless you want to. And if who you've been around food is a lot of struggle and a lot of hardship, then let it go. Just tell yourself you're somebody new. Give yourself weight loss amnesia and just start eating like the person you know is going to eventually normalize your weight, right? So I just want to make sure that you're understanding that quantum results, when they happen, if you've ever sort of like lost weight, like oopsie, or in a way that wasn't very hard or didn't require a lot of like struggle, it's probably because you were not focused on your weight loss. And find something compelling in your future to focus on where, yes, you stay present with the habits, the mindfulness, all of those things. I'm not saying throw them out, but I'm saying stop telling yourself a story about who you are based on your past. Okay. That when it meets these basics around intuitive eating, eating when you're hungry and um, understanding your satiety, your satisfaction cues, and just honoring that because you're honoring the life that you actually want. It's going to make it so much easier. Try to think about any limiting thoughts that are sort of humming underneath the surface that are all around your overeats. Things like there's never enough time, I'm never caught up, I never get support, I'm always alone. If you think about those limiting beliefs, those are all hooked and anchored into painful stories of our past, ones that we are believing this unreliable narrator that is our brain. And so many of us just think it's reliable, and it truly is up to you. You are the writer of your story. We get to believe whatever we want. And if you start believing it's easy and it's effortless and you love it, then things get really easy. Okay. So I just wanted to encourage you to play with your self concept, unhook from the past, see what happens. Come visit me over on at Thrive in Midlife on Instagram on the episode 28 post, and let me know what you're thinking about this. Here's your coach homework. Your coach homework this week is to write minimum 5 minutes each day for the next 7 days about how you can unhook your idea about results in your weight loss. You can start with like waiting for hunger. And then for number 2, you can talk about stopping at enough. Number 3, you can talk about getting in your water. Number 4, you can talk about sleep. Okay. Sleep is so important. We need to take responsibility for our sleep. Number 5, why don't you talk about movement for number 5? Okay. Number 6, I want you to talk about the food that you eat. Do you have a lot of good food, bad food mentality? Notice how good food, bad food is based in a story about your past. And in your body, when you eat food, like your body doesn't really know whether it was a cracker or a tomato. Doesn't know. There's no recognition mechanism inside your body. Like it just goes down into like carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. Yeah, the nutritional profiles are different, of course. I'm not saying that. But for food, like talk about how you might be limiting yourself based on your past. This often comes up when we get frustrated when there's no results on the scale. And then we start believing that like if we just cut out carbs this next week, it'd be easier. That's a story from your past. That has nothing to do with losing weight. I want you focused on like, can I just not overeat this week? I can be that person this week. I don't need to overeat if I'm doing the things that like light me up. And, I'm doing the things that I know I want to do. So you see, that's an example. Okay. And for the last, what were we on? 6? For the last one, it's your choice. You can just do a review of the previous 6 days. And then you can write about which stories tether you to your past and anchor you to your past the most. Maybe this is like, I've never lost all my weight. Or how about this one? I'm so ashamed I gained it back. Or I just never believe I'll have peace around food. All stories from your past. And who do you have to be to just no longer believe that? That is true freedom, is to just tell yourself you're free to be who you want to be. You can reinvent yourself at this moment. Even if you just disappointed yourself the previous moment, it's gone. It doesn't matter. Quantum results are super exciting. I see it in my clients all the time. When the pieces of mindset meet developing new habits around food, and then a compelling future starts to come in, my clients just click down with weight loss. It's like, boom, pound and a quarter each week, pound and a half, sometimes 2 pounds. And they do it week after week after week. And it is just so exciting because it's like compound interest. That's kind of quantum leaping your results. It's exactly like compound interest. Like you kind of don't even notice it's happening at first. And then you're just like, holy shit, this is working. Like I can do this. This is easy, you know? And then the human nature is like you kind of forget. And then you get busy and things happen. And you're like, oh, wait, I'm on the struggle bus again. And then you're like, oh, wait a minute. I can give myself weight loss amnesia and I can just start to get this momentum back again. That is how it goes. Okay. There's no like shiny place with a gold ribbon and a blue ribbon and a gold star. Like this is just every major religion has this idea of like the veil of forgetting. But when you forget and you think that your past controls your future or who you've been controls who you can be, that's the forgetting. And then there's the remembering. Oh yeah, I don't have to be part of that. I don't have to participate in that. That's my brain being an unreliable narrator. And that's optional. So go and reinvent yourself. Follow that hit of intuition, those breadcrumbs of delight, and start to fill in this life at goal weight, at your normalized weight, at your happy weight, the one that's calling you forward. And just change your focus from the past to the future. And instead of being a reactor to life because you're attached to your past, and that means fighting, that means being a soldier, that means being a warrior. You don't need to do all that. Quantum leap means easy, not over efforting. So quantum leap something means that we're the creator, we're the architect, we're the builder, we're the creative visionary. And that's being attached to an unlimited, unbounded future. And when shit like that starts happening, like miracles happen. Things get so easy. And it's just so wonderful to witness as a coach. So if you've ever had this happen to you, I would love for you to just give me a comment on the episode 28 post. Let me know, like, use it as a compelling example, like in your life of like, yeah, I kind of did this in this area. I wonder how I can also do this for weight loss. And then it becomes like just a delightful like game. That's like you're playing in the game of life. That's just fun. Like enjoy being alive. That's what it's about. It's not about struggle. It's not about this painful story that you tell. This is about you like using the arena of weight loss to really become fully actualized in your life, become more of like who you really are, and just having the guts and the courage to step into that by letting go of your past. Okay, that's all. I loved our chat today. Stay focused and so long. Hey, if this episode was helpful, then let's connect. Visit hbeardsley.com/subscribe. That's HBEARDSLEY.com/subscribe. You'll get a gift from me, exclusive subscriber content, and advanced notice of in-person events.